Hey everybody, do you remember when I showed you how to spool a bait caster using a box? Well, today I'm going to show you something that works a little bit better and is a lot more efficient. Something that could save you a lot of money down the road. And this special piece of equipment is less than $20. So today's episode is all about a tool that's going to help you spool your line, whether it be a bait caster or spinning gear, and will also help you save that line when you want to swap it out and you want to unspool it. All that's coming up right here, right now on Live to Fish. This is the fishing line spooler by Plusinno. Let's get it opened up here. All right, looks like we have a line spooler. This must be like a carry bag. That's pretty cool. And in here, part of the spooler. Put that off to the side. Okay, I've seen some pictures. This looks like the clamp for a pole. And this looks like the clamp that goes on a table. Inside we also have some instructions. Tells you everything in here. This is the spooler that we have right here, the 4-way function spooler. So it includes this, includes that, all in one package. So the parts list, we have the spooling clamp, the line spooler stand, the line spooler holder, the line spool, and the storage bag. Here we go. How to set it up on a desktop. We're going to do this one first. You also have the unwinding option. And then we're going to do how to set up on a fishing rod, which you can just bring it in your tackle bag. And we're going to go through the steps of that as well, and the unwinding function for that. All right, let's get to it. All right, first we're going to go through a demonstration on how to do the spooling on the table clamp. We're going to go ahead and clamp this down to the table. Now, full disclosure, I did not pay for this kit. This was something that Plusinno sent out to me to do a review on and to also do a little demonstration on. Okay, with the line spooler stand firmly in place on the table, we're going to go ahead and use the line spool holder. Now, you can either enter this on the left side or the right side of the line spool stand. I'm going to do it on the right side because I want to mimic a right-hand retrieve when I do the unspooling of the reel. Now, we go ahead and we slide this in here, and there's this little screw that you can lock it down with to make sure that it doesn't move. And once this is locked in place, we're going to go ahead and open up the line spool holder so we can go ahead and put our spool on there. Now we're going to put an empty spool on. Again, we're going to be doing an unspooling first. So I'm going to go ahead and get this screw off, get the guides removed, and go ahead and put my spool on. Now, they were nice enough to include this empty spool in with the kit. This is something where if you don't have any empty spools from line you've used, you can use this to go ahead and do your unspooling. So as you can see, it's got the little notches on it, so you can set your line in there once you've spooled it and tape it down to secure it. I'm going to go ahead and put it on the guide here, and I'm going to put the other guide on the left-hand side of it and tighten that down. And I'm going to kind of center it here because I want it away from that handle a little bit. I want to give it some room so it doesn't get tangled up on anything. Go ahead and tighten both of these ends of the guides down. And not too tight so I don't lock that thing in place, but just enough so that it keeps it sturdy so that when it's spinning, it doesn't wobble around too much. And here you can see me using the handle. Here is a little, I guess I would call this the drag that you can set on that handle to give it a little bit of resistance so you're not spinning too fast. This will keep you from going too fast and launching line off that reel as you unspool. Now, the unspooling instructions call for you to just take your line and tie it onto the spool. But as you all know, if you do braid straight to the spool, it's just going to spin. So I'm going to go ahead and take a little piece of Scotch tape here, attach it to the end of my braided line, and make sure that I secure it well to that spool to get that thing started the right way and so there's no slipping. Just making sure it's real good here, real tight, so I'm not going to be slipping off there. All right, here we go with the reel that I have the braided line on. Now here we got the bail. I'm not going to open up the bail. What I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen up the drag. I'm going to loosen up the drag so that I have a little bit of resistance so that as that line is getting unspooled from the spool, again, not opening the bail, it's going to be turning, but I don't want it to turn so fast that I get a backlash. All right, so again, I'm working off the drag and I'm not working off the bail. It's very important to do so you don't get any backlashes. So here we go, it's all secured. I got that drag set up, give it a little pull, get a little test. And here we go, as I start turning here, you're gonna see it starts following that spool back and forth. I'm watching the guide on the reel itself because I want to make sure that I'm getting an even distribution of the line across that empty spool. I don't want it bunching all up in one section of it. You can kind of see I'm kind of dragging it across to make sure that it gets evenly distributed on that spool. Again, just to point out, since we're working off the drag, that guide on the reel is not going to be moving back and forth. So you're going to have to manually move this back and forth across that empty spool to make sure that you have an even distribution of the line. Now here you can see time-lapse. There's a pretty good even distribution of the braided line onto the empty spool, which is now the full spool. And here's the reel. You can see I have the backing line, which is mono. I've run into that now. And I put the backing line on there because if you put straight braid onto a reel, chances are it's going to slip. So what I like to do, I like to secure it with a backing line of mono, just a little bit of it to secure it to that reel. And again, that keeps that straight braid from slipping. Okay, now we're ready to go ahead and do the spooling. I'm going to go ahead and open up this, which I would call the drag, this little knob that kind of puts some tension on that spool. I want to put enough on it so it's still a little tense so that there's a little bit of resistance when I'm going ahead and re-spooling my reel. I've got to put the drag, tighten the drag down on the reel so I can actually get the line on it. And now it's moving freely, but I don't want it to go too fast because what I don't want is slack line to be building up in the reel as I'm re-spooling it. I want it to be tight enough so that it definitely packs in there, but I don't want it too tight because I don't want it to pack in on itself and have problems with the line sticking too bad when you go ahead and try to cast. That'll kind of mess you up. It'll stick too much if you pack it in too tight. All right, here we are time-lapsed again to the end of the spool. And as you can see, I'm at the end here. Go ahead and disconnect that from the tape. And you can see it's evenly distributed onto the reel. That guy did its job. And one thing you want to make sure you do is make sure you tighten down that drag again. Don't leave it loose, or else you're going to run into issues when you do your first cast. Other than that, it's good to go.